Hi, this is Mark at Ding Dong's Garden. Last summer, we came out and we looked at willow trees in our willow bed when they had foliage on them. But now we come out and we look at it in the winter, and we see the colors and curls, and they're kind of their full glory without all the vegetation to cover it up. So while the sun's out, I'm just going to walk around and pick some varieties that look nice and just talk about them real quickly. So follow along. This is Britzensis. It's a great willow that has wonderful winter color. It's got kind of almost an orange color to it. It's a little bit, it branches quite a bit, so I'm not sure how good it is for basketry, but it's a brilliant color out here right now. And again, we coppice this every year to make sure that color stays. This is Harrison's Willow. A little bit multicolored. The rods here range from kind of a reddish brown to, a yellow green almost. It has long straight rods, so it's good for basketry, but boy, it's pretty when you coppice it back like this. This is Blue Streak Willow. It's one of those willows that has a bloom on it. And when I say a bloom, it's just a kind of a white waxy substance that you would see on grapes or on plums. And you see it here as well. I think its purpose is to keep it dry when it gets wet in the winter. But then if you look at higher on the branch, when that bloom wears off, or you rub it off because it comes off very easily, it's a very, very pretty deep reddish brown color. And right next to Blue Streak is Stewartstown, very similar makeup. It's a little more vigorous, so the rods are a little thicker and taller, but it also has that really nice color. This is Continental Osier, and it's got a great color, pretty unique. And the rods are very straight, very little side branching, so it'd be good for making stuff. And this is one of our 5 curly willows, Golden Curls. It's not, the curls aren't too crazy on it, but they still have a little bit more chaos to them than something like the Golden Corkscrew or Caradoc that have a tighter corkscrew to them. And this is Caradoc. And Caradoc, you could call it a yellow corkscrew willow if there is such a thing. It's got pretty tight curls to it, brilliant yellow color. And you know, like all these curly willows, if you just grow a row of them and coppice them, you can take them and harvest them and put them in your own arrangements. This willow is called Holland. It's a Salix purpurea. It's very good for basketry. And there's some variation between all the Salix purpureas. They've all got a little bit different colors. So if you want to jump back and forth, I'll mention when it's a Salix purpurea, and you can kind of see the different coloring on them. But they're excellent for basketry, very straight rods, very slender, so they're good for weaving. This is Sunny Twist Curly Willow, probably one of my favorite curly willows because it's so chaotic. And once it gets up here, higher up, the chaotic twists and the branches make it so it can't really hold itself up. But the colors range from a deep red to a kind of a yellow back there. You can see it. So that's Sunny Twist. This is Japanese SX64. Very tall, elegant willow in the summer, and it's still quite beautiful in the winter. Again, multicolored rods, that range from yellow to a deeper orange. And they're quite tall. They're probably 9 feet tall. And they don't start branching until the very top. So if you wanted to use this to weave or build things, it seems like it'd be a pretty good choice. This isn't a willow, it's a poplar. It's the Lombardy Poplar. It's what you see on windbreaks in the Midwest. It grows straight up in a column, and you know, the winter wood isn't anything to speak of, but you can just get a sense of how fast this thing grows. This is all growth from this year that was coppiced back, so quite a bit of biomass and height. This is Pacific Willow. It's a Pacific Northwest native, and it grows pretty true. You can see here that the branches, they don't branch off too much. It's got a nice color, maybe a yellowish green, and I would say it's a good candidate for basketry or for some kind of weaving. This is Hooker Willow. This is another Pacific Northwest native. It's got a nice green color to it in the winter. And, you know, this is known for its catkins. So if you were to go out to the ocean on the Washington coast, you would see these just back from the dunes, and they'll be loaded with catkins in the winter. And I'm not talking, you know, we have a lot of pussy willows here, but I'm not going to talk about them today because the catkins are not yet out. It's still early days for that. This is Scoulers Willow. It's another Washington State native, and it grows here on our property. It's the main willow tree we have on our property here that's native. It does very well in dry environments, which is one reason it does well here, because we don't get a lot of rain up here in the southern part of the San Juan Islands. This is Golden Weeping Willow. Now we coppice our weeping willow. I'll try to stand back a little bit. So you're not going to get a vision of what the tree would look like, but you can get a taste of it because you see these willow branches already starting to lean over. And the counterintuitive piece of this is that these branches will weep, they'll lean over, and yet weeping willows get to be enormous. So it's almost as if next year the main growth will start off of the peak of last year's growth, and it'll kind of weep its way up to an enormous tree. This is Dwarf Arctic Willow, also called Nana Willow. You can see why it's used for fine basketry work, because the rods that it sends up are very, very small, very fine. In fact, when we sell these as cuttings, we're probably going to send a few cuttings and put in the description of the product a little advice on how to propagate it. We would say that, putting this in a pot to get it to go is probably the better choice, because it's so small and fragile, and you'd have to really keep an eye on it if you just stuck it in the ground. And here you can see this is 3rd or 4th year growth that I left here, just so you can get an idea of it. They will continue to grow. And this is Golden Corkscrew Willow. It's great. We're going to harvest some and probably make arrangements for it again this year. We still have we have an arrangement that we harvested a couple of years ago, and it's still in our living room and does great. It's got a tighter curl than some of the other curly willows, but that's okay. It grows pretty fast, and you can do a lot with it. This is Salix babylonica, or the traditional weeping willow. And as we go up here, you can see it's starting to weep, but it's not as dramatic as the golden weeping willow, which starts leaning over right away. But again, this will grow. Even though it's weeping, it'll become an enormous tree. This is flame willow, another great winter ornamental willow. The color ranges is from yellow to kind of almost a deep red, deep orange. This is Salix purpurea crossed with Daphnoides. So I don't have another name for it. Maybe violet willow, but I'm not sure. But it's a classic basketry willow. It's a deeper red than some of the other Salix purpureas we've seen, and it has a little bit of a bloom on it, but not much, which would come from the Daphnoides part of the cross. But if you want a good basketry willow, this is an excellent one. It's got very fine rods, no branching, so it's good. It's a good willow to have. This is Scarlet Curls, and the foliage is starting to come off. It keeps its foliage late into the fall and early winter, but we've had a few frosts, and the foliage is starting to come off. And you can see it's just beautiful branching here. And again, you would just harvest this and bunch it together, and you'd have either a product or a gift or decoration for your own home. And we coppice it every year, and it'll grow back. This is 1 year growth right here off of the first year, and then the stuff we see down here is the second year of growth after it was coppiced. Everything you see in this video has been cut back, so we don't leave anything on the ground, and all this growth is in 1 year. It'll grow back and you can harvest it again. These three types of willows here from left to right are golden willow, flame yellow willow, and Rouge Ardennai. And just glancing at them, they do look very similar. Brilliant colors in the winter, but if they have different characteristics in terms of vigor. Or you can see here that Rouge Ardennai still has some foliage on it, so that's different than the other two. But what they do share in common is a great winter color, and you can either harvest that and use it to make things, to weave, or you can leave it out in your garden just to provide some nice color in the winter. And here to the left we have Bleu willow, and it's a darker Salix purpurea, and adjacent to it is Lambertiana, which is a lighter Salix purpurea. So you can see they're both great basketry willow. The rods grow true with little side branching. They're slender, so they're easy to use for basketry work. But there's different colors, so that's where these come in. As you can, on these purpureas, there's a wide range of colors for them. And here, left to right, we see Japanese Miyabe. Wintergreen is in the middle here, and then Schwerins Willow is on the right. And they all get huge amounts of height in the summer. I mean, this was all coppiced back to the ground last spring, and they grew like crazy. The wintergreen and the Miyabe, they're very similar. They have a kind of a light green color, really thick rods, but they put most of their energy up into height. And Schwerins here also grows high, but it's got this really nice dark color to it. And it's not, the branching on it isn't quite as straight, but that color makes up for it. And as you go down, you can see that the color lightens up a little bit as you get towards the base. Again, and I mentioned this in most of our videos, that when people think of a willow tree, they often think of something that's going to grow to be a huge tree like a weeping willow or something like that. But if you really want to be able to harvest the material, harvest the curly willow or the willow with color, or for basketry, you really need to coppice it back every year. And it's a tree, so as long as you give it a lot of water and a lot of sun, it will grow right back and more the following year. Hard to see in the sun here with the angle we've got, but this is Blackskin Willow, and it is pretty. It's got a really nice deep black color to it and very thin rods. It's not as vigorous as some of the other basketry willow, but it's still very nice. This is Irette, or Irette. It's a great basketry willow. Very tall, vigorous rods, nice color, and it doesn't, there's no side branching. I mentioned earlier that I'm not going to talk about pussy willows or willows with catkins today because they're not quite yet out, but Winter Glory is one of the first to show catkins. And they're starting to emerge already here. Wherever you see these capsules is where the catkin will emerge. And you can see some of them out here are quite large. So we're gonna get a nice display in here of catkins. This is another poplar. It's not a willow. It's the black cottonwood, again, native to the Pacific Northwest, and it grows like crazy. These were all coppiced to the ground last year, last spring, and they're probably 10 or 12 feet tall. So you can imagine if we didn't coppice this to the ground again, how big they would become in 1 year. This is Noire de Villaine. I think it's Salix triandra, and it's got a kind of a lighter brown texture at this point, but when it's first starting to come out, or if the rods are more slender, it's kind of a deeper black. So it's got a really nice color. This is Jaune de Falaise. Very vigorous, very bright yellow colors in the winter. And like all of these yellow colored willow, they're even beautiful as a hedge in the summer because that green foliage against the yellow background is quite attractive. This is Fransgeel Rood, another beautiful colored willow here. You can, again, you have to coppice it, you have to prune it back to get this first year wood, because once the wood starts entering its second year of growth, you really lose the color. And another beautiful yellow willow is Basfordiana. We coppiced this to the ground last year and it grew back like crazy. So it's this real dense hedge of yellow that also looks great in the summer with the green foliage on it. So I didn't get everything, but I got quite a few, and we'll try to get back out here, this winter and hopefully next summer to get more and more videos of this stuff, because it's great. Willows are easy to grow from cuttings, and you can harvest them for uses like, floral arrangements or gifts or to use in basketry.